find and build specific knowledge. Sales skills are a form of specific knowledge. There's such a thing as a natural in sales. You run into them all the time in startups and venture capital. When you meet someone who is a natural at sales, you just know they are amazing. They are really good at what they do. That is a form of specific knowledge. Obviously, they learned somewhere, but they didn't learn it in a classroom setting. They learned probably in their childhood in the schoolyard, or they learned negotiating with their parents. Maybe some is a genetic component in the DNA. But you can improve sales skills. You can read Robert Cialdini. You can go to a sales training seminar. You can do door to door sales. It is brutal but will train you very quickly. You can definitely improve your sales skills. Specific knowledge cannot be taught, but it can be learned. When I talk about specific knowledge, I mean figure out what you are doing as a kid or teenager almost effortlessly. Something you didn't even consider a skill, but people around you noticed. Your mother, your best friend growing up would know. Examples of what your specific skill knowledge could be: sales skill, musical talents with the ability to pick up any instrument, an obsessive personality, you dive into things and remember them quickly. Love for science fiction, you were into reading sci fi, which means you observe a lot of knowledge very quickly. Playing a lot of games, you understand game theory pretty well. Gossiping, digging into your friend network, that might make you into a very interesting journalist. The specific knowledge is sort of this weird combination of unique traits from your DNA, your unique upbringing, and your response to it. It's almost baked into your personality and your identity. Then you can hone it. No one can compete with you on being you. Most of life is a search for who and what needs you the most. For example, I love to read, I love technology, I learn very quickly, and I get bored fast. If I had gone into a profession where I was required to tunnel down for 20 years into the same topic, it wouldn't have worked. I'm in venture investing, which requires me to come up to speed very, very quickly on new technologies. And I'm rewarded for getting bored because new technologies come along. It matches up pretty well with my specific knowledge and skill sets. I wanted to be a scientist. This is where a lot of my moral hierarchy comes from. I view scientists as being at the top of the production chain for humanity. The group of scientists who have made real breakthroughs and contributions probably added more to human society, I think, than any single other class of human beings. Not to take away anything from art or politics or engineering or business, but without science, we would still be scrambling in the dirt fighting with sticks and trying to start fires. Society, business, and money are downstream of technology, which is itself of downstream of science. Science applied is the engine of humanity. Corollary: applied scientists are the most powerful people in the world. This will be more obvious in the coming years. My whole value system was built around scientists, and I wanted to be a great scientist. But when I actually look back at what I was uniquely good at and what I ended up spending my time doing, it was more around making money, tinkering with technology, and selling people on things, explaining things, and talking to people. I have some sales skills, which is a form of specific knowledge. I have some analytical skills on how to make money, and I have this ability to absorb data, obsess about it, and break it down, and that is a specific skill I have. I also love tinkering with technology, and all this stuff feels like play to me, but it looks like work to others. There are other people to whom these things would be hard and they say, well, how do I get good at being pithy and selling ideas? Well, if you're not already good at it, or if you are not really into it, maybe it's not your thing. Focus on the thing that you really are into. The first person to actually point out my real specific knowledge was my mother. She did it as an aside, talking from the kitchen, and she said it when I was 15 or 16 years old. I was telling a friend of mine that I want to be an astrophysicist, and she said, no, you're going to go into business. I was like, what? My mom's telling me I'm going to be in business? I'm going to be an astrophysicist. My mom doesn't know she is talking about, but mom knew exactly what she was talking about. Specific knowledge is found much more by pursuing your innate talents, your genuine curiosity, and your passion. It's not by going to school for whatever is the hottest job. It's not by going to whatever field investors say is the hottest. Very often, specific knowledge is at the edge of knowledge. It's also stuff that's only now being figured out or is really hard to figure out. If you're not 100% into it, somebody else who is 100% into it will outperform you. And they won't just outperform you by a little bit, they will outperform you by a lot, because now we are operating the domain of ideas. Compound interest really applies and leverage really applies. The internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured this out yet. You can go on the internet and you can find your audience, and you can build a business and create a product and build wealth and make people happy just uniquely expressing yourself through the internet. The internet enables any niche interest as long as you are the best person at it to scale out. And the great news is, because every human is different, everyone is the best at something, being themselves. Another tweet I had that is worth weaving in, but didn't go into the how to get rich tweet storm, was very simple. Escape competition through authenticity. Basically, when you are competing with people, it's because you are copying them. It's because you are trying to do the same thing. But every human is different. Don't copy. If you're fundamentally building and marketing something that is an extension of who you are, no one can compete with you on that. Who's going to compete with Joe Rogan or Scott Adams? It's impossible. Is somebody else going to come along and write a better Dilbert? No. Is someone going to compete with Bill Watterson and create a better Calvin and Hobbes? No. They're being authentic. The best jobs are neither decreed nor degreed. They are creative expressions of continuous learners in free markets. The most important skill for getting rich is becoming a perpetual learner. You have to know how to learn anything you want to learn. The old model of making money is going to school for 4 years, getting your degree, and working as a professional for 30 years, and but things change fast now. Now you have to come up to speed on a new profession within 9 months, and it's obsolete 4 years later. But within those 3 productive years, you can get very wealthy. It's much more important today to be able to become an expert in a brand new field in 9 to 12 months than to have studied the right thing a long time ago. You really care about having studied the foundations, so you are not scared of any book. If you go to the library and there's a book you cannot understand, you have to dig down and say, what is the foundation required for me to learn this? Foundations are super important. Basic arithmetic and numeracy are way more important in life than doing calculus. Similarly, being able to convey yourself simply using ordinary English words is far more important than being able to write poetry, having an extensive vocabulary, or speaking 7 different foreign languages. Knowing how to be persuasive when speaking is far more important than being an expert digital marketer or click optimizer. Foundations are key. It's much better to be at 9 by 10 or 10 or 10 on foundations than to try and get super deep into things. You do need to be deep in something because otherwise you will be a mile wide and an inch deep and you won't get what you want out of life. You can only achieve mastery in one or two things, is usually things you are obsessed about. Play long term games. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest.